Okay, so we all know exercise is good for us.
Right.
But what if I told you it's not just about, like, the physical benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Get ready to, like, dive into this incredible world of how movement transforms your brain.
Yeah,
We're talking rewiring for better memory,
absolutely.
sharper focus, even a brighter mood, all thanks to the brain-boosting power of exercise.
Basically harnessing your body's natural ability to
Mm.
optimize your brain power.
Exactly. And to guide us through this fascinating landscape, we're tapping into the work of Dr. Anders Hansen,
Of course, yeah.
psychiatrist who's basically made it his mission to unravel the connection between our brains and our bodies.
Yeah.
He's written a whole stack of books, The Happiness Cure, The Attention Fix, The ADHD Advantage, all exploring this idea of movement as like a superpower for our minds.
And I think what's really cool about Dr. Hansen's approach is that he connects the dots between evolutionary biology, neuroscience, and like our modern lives.
So are you saying our love of streaming marathons and endless scrolling is messing with our brains?
Yeah, let's just say our brains evolved in a time when movement was non-negotiable for survival, right? We were hunters, gatherers, constantly on the move.
Right.
Our brains are still wired for that lifestyle,
Yeah.
even if our daily routines look a little different these days.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. We're practically hardwired to chase down our dinner, even if our dinner comes from a takeout app these days.
Right. And Dr. Hansen, he calls this disconnect the mind-body method. We've essentially created this gap between what our brains are designed for and how we actually live.
Okay, so how do we bridge that gap? Let's talk about neuroplasticity.
Oh.
Is that like the ability to learn a new TikTok dance?
Well, it's definitely related to learning, but
Yeah.
on a much deeper level. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's incredible ability to change and adapt throughout our lives.
All right.
Imagine your brain is like a densely forested landscape with pathways carved out by your experiences.
Okay.
Every time you learn something new or do something repeatedly, you're essentially paving new pathways or widening existing ones.
Okay, I'm starting to see where exercise fits into all of this.
Yeah.
It's like we're paving those brain pathways with every jog around the park.
Exactly. Exercise is like cross-training for your brain. It stimulates the growth of new brain cells, particularly in a region called the hippocampus, which is like the brain's memory center.
Wait, so exercise can actually make my brain bigger?
Yeah,
That sounds like a pretty good deal.
it's true. Dr. Hansen talks about how the hippocampus can actually shrink with age, leading to memory problems and cognitive decline. But exercise can counteract that shrinkage,
Really?
even reversing some of the age-related damage.
That's incredible. So I'm literally turning back the clock on my brain age every time I hit the gym.
You could say that. And speaking of incredible brain adaptations, Dr. Hansen tells a fascinating story about a woman named Michelle Mack who was born with only half a brain.
Wait, how is that even possible?
Michelle was born without her left hemisphere, which is usually dominant for language and logic. But her brain did something remarkable. It rewired itself, with the right side taking over many of those functions.
Wow, I never knew our brains could adapt like that.
Michelle's case is a testament to the brain's incredible capacity to change and adapt, especially when supported by, you guessed it, exercise.
Great.
While she did face some challenges, her story is a powerful reminder that our brains are far more malleable than we often give them credit for.
Okay, so we've established that exercise is like a superpower for our brains.
Yes.
But what about the stuff that gets in the way of our brain power, you know?
Yeah.
Stress, anxiety,
Right.
those pesky mental gremlins we all struggle with?
Those gremlins are a real drag. But here's where the connection between our brain and body gets even more fascinating.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the HPA axis?
Can't say that I have. Is it like a new spin class?
Not quite. Think of your HPA axis like your body's stress alarm system.
Okay.
When you encounter a stressful situation, like a work deadline or, that near miss on the highway, your HPA axis kicks into gear, sending signals from your brain to your adrenal glands, which release cortisol,
Okay.
the stress hormone.
So cortisol is the culprit behind those racing thoughts and sweaty palms.
Exactly. Now, in small doses, cortisol is actually helpful. It helps us respond to threats, stay alert.
Right.
But when we're chronically stressed, that cortisol keeps pumping, and it can wreak havoc on our brains.
Yeah.
Particularly the hippocampus. Remember, that's the memory center we talked about.
Right. So stress is literally shrinking our brains.
Well, not our entire brains,
Okay.
but it can shrink the hippocampus and impair its function,
Right.
which can impact our memory, focus, and even our mood.
Okay. That's not good.
No.
But this is where exercise swoops in to save the day, right?
I got it. Exercise combats stress on multiple levels. First, it helps to regulate cortisol levels, preventing those harmful surges that can damage the brain. Second, it strengthens the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in decision-making, emotional regulation, and putting the brakes on impulsive behaviors. It's like giving your brain a suit of armor against stress.
Okay, but what about those times when stress feels less like a dull roar and more like a full-blown panic attack? Can exercise really help with something as intense as fear?
It absolutely can. See, fear is primarily driven by a part of the brain called the amygdala, which Dr. Hansen refers to as the brain's fear center.
Okay.
And to illustrate just how powerful the amygdala is, he shares a story about a woman who, due to a rare medical condition, completely lost her ability to feel fear.
Wait, she couldn't feel fear at all. That's both fascinating and terrifying. Tell me more.
It is a captivating story.
Right.
This woman, after her amygdala was damaged, she could no longer recognize fear in others
Wow.
or experience it herself.
Right.
Imagine living in a world where you couldn't even comprehend danger.
Wow, that's intense. It really highlights how crucial the amygdala is, but also how vulnerable it can be.
Right.
So how does exercise play into this?
Well, while we can't exactly, exercise our amygdala directly,
Right.
we can train our brains to manage its responses more effectively.
Okay.
Remember that prefrontal cortex we talked about earlier? It's
Yeah.
the one that gets stronger with exercise?
The brain's very own personal trainer.
Precisely. A stronger prefrontal cortex means better emotional regulation.
Okay.
You're essentially giving your brain the tools to hit the brakes on the fear response
Okay.
before it escalates into a full-blown panic attack.
So it's like exercise helps us build a more resilient brain.
Yeah.
One that can handle whatever life throws our way, whether it's a looming deadline or that almost fender bender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears slightly, I know you mentioned earlier that focus is a big one for you,
Right.
and I'm sure many of our listeners can relate.
Yeah.
Dr. Hansen dives deep into this and the attention fix, exploring the fascinating interplay between movement, motivation, and our brain's reward system.
Okay, break that down for me.
Okay.
How does exercise actually improve our focus?
Well, have you ever noticed that feeling of satisfaction or even euphoria after a good workout?
Mm-hmm.
That's your brain's reward system at play.
You mean that runner's high?
Yeah.
Everyone's always talking about.
Precisely. It all boils down to a neurotransmitter called dopamine,
Okay.
which plays a key role in motivation and pleasure
Right.
when we do something that ensures our survival,
Okay.
like eating or, in this case, moving our bodies.
Right.
Our brains reward us with a hit of dopamine.
So we're basically hardwired to crave that feeling of reward.
Yes.
And exercise is the key.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Exercise doesn't just give us a temporary dopamine boost,
Right.
it actually strengthens the dopamine pathways in our brains,
Yeah, wow.
making us more responsive to its effects over time.
So the more we move, the better our brains get at focusing and feeling good.
Yes.
Sign me up. But what about folks who really struggle with focus?
Yeah.
Like those with ADHD?
Yeah.
Can exercise really make a difference for them?
That's a great question, and one that Dr. Hansen addresses in the ADHD Advantage.
Okay.
He explains that many of us, even without a formal diagnosis, exist on a spectrum when it comes to attention.
Right.
We all have moments of distraction or impulsivity, but for those with ADHD,
Sure.
these challenges can be more persistent
Right.
and impact their daily lives.
So it's not just about fidgeting in your seat.
Exactly. ADHD is a complex neurodevelopmental condition,
Right.
but the research on exercise's impact is promising.
Okay.
Studies have shown that regular physical activity, especially aerobic exercise,
Okay.
can significantly improve attention, impulse control,
Wow.
and even executive function in both children and adults with ADHD.
So instead of just reaching for medication,
Yeah.
we should be encouraging kids and ourselves to move our bodies more.
It's not always an either-or situation. For some, medication plays a crucial role in managing ADHD symptoms.
Right.
However, exercise can be a powerful complementary approach.
Okay.
And for others, it might even be a viable alternative.
Wow. Okay.
Remember, our brains evolved in a time when movement was non-negotiable.
Right.
And reintroducing that movement can have profound effects on our attention
Right.
and overall well-being.
That totally resonates.
Yeah.
But speaking of well-being,
Yes.
let's talk about mood.
Okay.
In our fast-paced world, it's easy to feel down, unmotivated,
Sure.
maybe even a little hopeless at times.
Yeah.
Can exercise really help with that too?
Absolutely. Dr. Hansen explains that exercise is incredibly effective for boosting mood,
Okay.
even rivaling antidepressants in its efficacy for mild to moderate depression.
Wait, seriously? Are you saying that lacing up my sneakers could be as good as taking a pill?
In some cases, yes.
Wow.
Remember those feel-good neurotransmitters we talked about earlier, like dopamine?
Right, yeah.
Well, exercise also increases levels of serotonin and norepinephrine.
Okay.
Both of which play a significant role in regulating mood, sleep,
Wow.
and even appetite.
Okay, so it's like giving our brains a cocktail of happy chemicals,
Yeah.
but it's more than just a temporary mood boost, right?
Yeah. Exercise has long-term benefits for brain health, too.
Okay.
Remember BDNF, the miracle grow protein.
Yeah.
That helps brain cells grow and thrive.
Right?
Well, exercise is like a shot of espresso for BDNF production,
Okay.
protecting your brain from stress
Right.
and promoting its overall health and resilience.
It's like investing in your brain's future.
Right.
So not only am I sharper and more focused, but I'm also setting myself up for a brighter, happier tomorrow.
Precisely. And speaking of brighter, have you ever experienced that feeling of euphoria
Yeah.
during or after a run? That famous runner's high?
I can't say I have. I'm more of a brisk walk with a podcast kind of person.
Well, regardless of your preferred mode of movement,
Okay.
that runner's high is your brain releasing endorphins.
Which are natural painkillers and mood boosters.
Okay.
Your brain is basically rewarding you for pushing your physical limits.
Fascinating. But you don't have to be an endurance athlete to reap those benefits.
Exactly. Even moderate exercise can make a world of difference.
Okay.
And let's not forget about creativity.
Right.
Do you ever find yourself hitting a wall when you're trying to be creative?
All the time. Especially in my line of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brain just feels fried.
Well, Dr. Hansen challenges the myth of the exhausted artist.
Right.
Instead of depleting our creative reserves, exercise can actually make us more creative.
Seriously. I always thought those late nights fueled by coffee were the key to unlocking my inner Hemingway.
It might work for some,
Right?
but the science suggests that exercise is a much more reliable path to creative breakthroughs.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, boosts BDNF,
Yeah.
and strengthens those neural connections,
Yeah.
all of which are essential for generating new ideas and making novel connections.
So instead of burning the midnight oil, I should be hitting the gym.
Yeah.
That's definitely a plot twist.
It couldn't hurt. Dr. Hansen mentions a study at Stanford
Okay.
where participants who walked before a creativity test performed 60% better.
Wow.
That's a significant boost in creativity.
60%. Okay. I'm sold.
Right.
I'm adding a walk to my pre-brainstorm routine from now on. But there's a catch, right?
Yeah,
You have to be reasonably fit to get those creative juices flowing.
that's true.
Right.
If you're just starting out, an intense workout might actually make you feel more drained than inspired.
Right.
But as your fitness improves,
Right.
exercise becomes a creativity powerhouse.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot where your body and mind are both energized and ready to create.
So it's a long game, but the creative payoff is worth it.
Yes.
Now, let's shift our focus to the long-term benefits of exercise on brain health,
Okay.
especially as we age.
Absolutely. This is where things get really interesting.
Oh,
Dr. Hansen emphasizes that exercise is like making a lifelong investment in a sharper mind.
and who doesn't want that?
Right. We're talking about protecting our cognitive function,
Right.
reducing our risk of age-related decline,
Yeah.
even warding off those diseases that rob us of our memories and independence.
You're talking about dementia, right?
Yeah.
Alzheimer's disease. I know that's a huge concern for a lot of people,
Yeah,
especially as we get older.
it is. And the statistics that Dr. Hansen shares are truly eye-opening.
Okay.
He says that a brisk daily walk can cut your risk of dementia by 30–40%.
Hold on. Are you serious? Something as simple as walking can have that much of an impact on our long-term brain health.
The research suggests so.
Wow.
And remember the story of Olga Kotelko?
Yes.
The Canadian athlete who started competing at 77?
The one who had the brain of someone decades younger.
Yes.
That's incredible.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Olga's story really drives home the point that
Yeah.
it's never too late to start reaping the cognitive benefits of exercise.
Right.
Her brain, even in her 90s,
Right.
showed remarkable resilience and youthfulness, a testament to the power of lifelong movement.
It's like she discovered the fountain of youth.
Right.
But instead of like some magical elixir,
Yeah.
it was just plain old putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why we ever stopped moving in the first place.
You're right. Dr. Hansen points out this fascinating paradox.
Okay.
For most of human history, Our very survival depended on movement.
Right.
Our ancestors weren't hitting the gym for sculpted calves.
Right.
They were chasing down dinner, migrating with the seasons, constantly engaging their bodies and brains in this intricate dance of survival.
It's true. They didn't have the luxury of binge watching their favorite shows.
Right.
Or ordering takeout with a few taps on their phone.
Yeah.
But their Netflix and chill was probably more like,
Right.
trek this gazelle for 10 miles and hope we don't become a lion's lunch.
Exactly. And Dr. Hansen argues that our brains still operate on that ancient wiring
Okay.
when we move it. Our brains interpret it as a victory, a sign that we're thriving in the face of challenges.
Right.
Just like our ancestors did.
So it's not just about burning calories or
Yeah.
building muscle. It's about sending a signal to our brains that we're alive and kicking,
Yes.
ready to take on whatever comes our way.
Precisely. And when we deprive our brains of that movement, that primal signal of survival,
Okay.
it throws things out of whack.
Right.
We feel sluggish, unmotivated.
Right.
Our brain's basically saying, hey, this isn't how we're supposed to be living.
So our love affair with comfy couches and endless entertainment is basically betraying our evolutionary heritage.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
Dr. Hansen talks about how our modern world is full of what he calls calorie traps.
Right.
We're surrounded by delicious, convenient food that our ancestors would have gone to great lengths to obtain.
It's true. I can barely resist a bag of chips when they're just an arm's reach away,
Yeah.
let alone having to track a wild boar through the wilderness for a week. So, what's the solution? Are we doomed to battle against our biology forever?
Not at all. Awareness is key.
Okay.
Once we understand
Yeah.
how deeply ingrained our need for movement is,
Oh.
we can make more conscious choices.
Right.
We don't have to become marathon runners
Right.
or Olympic athletes.
You're right.
It's about incorporating more movement into our daily lives,
Okay.
even in small ways.
I love that. So instead of beating ourselves up for not logging a certain number of miles
Right.
or lifting a certain amount of weight,
Yeah.
we can focus on those little wins,
Yes.
taking the stairs instead of the elevator,
Exactly.
parking farther away from the grocery store, maybe even squeezing in a few squats while we're waiting for the coffee to brew.
Exactly. And Dr. Hansen emphasizes that every step counts.
Right.
Even short bursts of activity can have a significant impact on our brain health.
Okay.
It's about shifting our mindset from all or nothing
Yeah,
to every little bit helps.
I like that. So as we wrap up this fascinating deep dive into the brain-boosting power of exercise,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways our listeners should carry with them?
Well, first and foremost, remember that exercise is not just about physical health.
Right.
It's a powerful tool for optimizing brain function.
Okay.
We've seen how it can improve memory, enhance focus, boost creativity, regulate mood,
Yeah.
and even protect against cognitive decline as we age.
It's almost like exercise is the ultimate life hack.
Right.
A way to upgrade our physical and mental well-being,
Yeah.
all in one fell swoop.
And the best part is, it's accessible to everyone.
Right.
You don't need fancy equipment or expensive gym memberships.
Right.
You can reap the benefits of movement no matter where you are
That's
or
awesome.
what your fitness level is.
So the next time you're feeling stressed, unfocused, creatively stuck, or just plain blah,
Yeah,
remember that you have a secret weapon at your disposal.
that's right.
Skip the quick fixes
Yeah.
and lace up those sneakers, go for a walk, dance around your living room.
Do whatever it takes to get your body moving and your brain buzzing.
Absolutely. And as you go about your day, remember this. Your brain evolved in a world where movement was non-negotiable.
Right.
What small changes can you make to honor that ancient wisdom and unlock the full potential of your incredible brain?